Hussain, former Secretary and Ministry of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare and Advisory with FICCI, also joins us now. Mr. Hussain, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Can you break it for our viewers that when the government is talking about digitization of the agri sector, what are they trying to achieve? And if implemented, what kind of breakthrough it will have for the agriculture sector?
Thank you for inviting me. See, the announcements made yesterday include a number of other very important schemes which should also receive the attention of your viewers. For example, the finance minister had announced in the budget speech a challenge mode of research under which the private research companies would also be invited to participate in developing climate resilient seed varieties, better yielding seed varieties, and so on. Similarly, for horticulture, some announcement has been made yesterday that certain allocation has been made for improving the yield, etc., and climate resistance. As far as digital agriculture is concerned, first of all, we do not have the details, so I really do not know what is sought to be achieved. But I do recall that the government had signed an MOU with 4 companies, and these included NinjaCart, Cisco, ITC, and Geo. I do not know, or at least I'm not aware of what actually happened in the collaboration with these companies, what data was given to them, what was the achievement of the government through digitization. You see, digitization can bring certain advantages to the agriculture sector, but we must recall that the farmers' land records, etc., is a very precious commodity. And any misuse or scam involving the farmers will be very difficult to prevent because the farmers are not that well tech savvy. And we have seen that even highly educated people have been duped of crores of rupees through malicious apps and so on. So one has to be very cautious. A number of letters have been written by the government, by Internet Freedom Foundation, etc. So we have to wait for the details. And I think agriculture as such needs a lot more than digitization.
So, to your mind, if one has to really identify the big concern which needs to be addressed in the agriculture sector, what is that concern? And allow me to break it up for our viewers. For example, Indian manufacturing had one big problem that they were not competitive. So PLI schemes had to be bought in. Schemes and benefits had to be given to the Indian manufacturing sector so that they gain market share back from China. So if agriculture has to come on the main track, both in terms of productivity and per capita contribution to the economy, what is that big elephant in the room which needs to be addressed?
You see, first of all, we have to remember that the productivity of Indian agriculture on the whole is quite low compared to the global norms, especially if we compare the Indian yields with the Chinese yields. Now, having said this, we should also remember that even within the country, there are a lot of differences in the yield across the states. For example, the yield of rice in Chhattisgarh, Odisha, etc., is about half of the yield in Punjab, Haryana, etc. Similarly, for other crops, soybean yield has been stagnating at about 1 ton per hectare for 20 years. So, the major problem is that India does not produce reliable, consistent surpluses of agriculture. Despite all this big talk of feeding the world, etc., I think our surpluses are quite marginal and they vary from the year to year. As we have seen in the last 2 years, the government had to impose all kinds of restrictions on export of wheat, rice, sugar, etc. So, the major problem with the Indian agriculture is yield and very low incomes of farmers because 46% of employment is in the agriculture sector. So a lot less people can deliver the same value of output in agriculture. Now, basically, in view of the climate change, we need to do research and find out seeds which can be climate resistant, which will give better yield, which will be pest resistant, and so on. So this is the major and the core of the problem of Indian agriculture.
Mr. Hussain, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, you just highlighted a lot of challenges right now when it comes to the agriculture sector. What are the possible solutions and how feasible would implementation of those solutions would be given that it's such a large sector and with such huge employment as well and multiplier effect, if you will?
See, the government has taken a lot of steps. All governments try to do their best for the agriculture sector. This government has also taken a lot of steps. For example, the area under irrigation has gone up from about 45% to 53, 54%. Under the Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, 99 projects were identified for completion. About 55, 58 projects have been completed. So first of all, the agriculture has to be made climate resistant, especially resistant to drought-like conditions. That is one. Secondly, the farmers are hugely impacted by enormous fluctuation in prices. As we are talking, the soybean prices are much lower than the MSP. This can be easily handled by adjusting the import tariffs. We know that the soybean prices are lower because there is very cheap import of palm oil into India. Would you cannot forget that crude palm oil is imported into India at zero duty. So obviously, the government has to adjust the tariffs in such a manner that the domestic MSP is protected. This is not very difficult to achieve, and I'm sure that the government would be seized of the matter. Uh, Thirdly, and this is not very easy, a lot more people need to move to other employment oriented sectors like leather, etc., garment manufacturing, and so on, so that the pressure on agriculture is lowered. We have to remember that the average land holding in Bihar is less than zero point 0.5 hectares. So obviously, we cannot expect these very marginal farmers to invest any substantial amount in improving their yield. Even then, it is to the credit of farmers that they have been producing enough of basic cereals, due to which India is largely food secure.
Where does this entire, when it comes to productivity, I guess no state will complain that by why are you helping the farmer to increase productivity. But when it comes to land, the state would come in. The state would say, this is our domain. This is something which needs approval from the state government rather than in central authority. How do you see the land issue for a farmer getting settled with this entire digitization approach?
See, digitization is basically uh, computerization of land records and registering any mortgage, etc. If any loan has been taken against that piece of land, that can be digitized. The farmers can get easier credit, especially post-harvest credit, which is not very easy to come. Kisan credit card has made it very easy for farmers to get credit for production. So this was introduced by the Vajpayee government, and it has given very good results. But the post-harvest credit is not very easy to get. So digitization can make that easier. You see, there are a number of concerns about digitization which have been highlighted by Internet Freedom Foundation in various representations to the government. I do not know the details of the scheme approved yesterday, but I'm sure that the government would have taken care of many concerns. I would only say that when people, highly educated people who are extremely conversant with digital um, ecosystem, they can be digitally arrested and scammed. Then we have to be very cautious about bringing in farmers' data into public domain. I hope that the government will take adequate care to shield them from any scam or malfeasance.
Question, sir, which is, we've seen breakthrough moments in digital productivity in all sectors. Finance being one, manufacturing being other one, banking being the other one. Are we on the cusp of a agricultural revolution which could be aided by digital, or right now this is only classroom theory? It's good to talk, but difficult to implement.
See, I do not think that other than the financial world's ecosystem, much can be expected in agriculture. Because basically, agriculture depends a lot on the monsoon, the rains, the underground water level, the quality of seed, the quality of pesticides, um, weeds, weedicides, etc., which are being used by the farmers, and lastly, by the price fluctuation. So, digitization can surely help in delivering better information to farmers. But this is already being done. There is a Kisan helpline, there is DD Kisan channel. So it is not that farmers are starved of information. And we also have to remember that this is a target group which is not owning smartphones, and we cannot expect them to be as tech savvy as other people in the financial world and so on. So, digitization can surely help in certain sectors, delivering better information to them about prices, etc. But you see, digitization cannot take farmers' produce to a mandi. That has to be taken physically, transported physically to a mandi. But it can connect buyers with the farmers, which has been done by ENAM. So ENAM, which was started by the government in 2016, has not achieved its full potential. So all that is possible. What I'm saying is that there has to be a very serious effort to ensure that farmers' data is not compromised and they are not scammed by unscrupulous elements.
So, Hussain, so good having you on the show today and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you.